somebody dies, that what you need to do is you take food, right? You always take food. Now here's the thing. You could go to the store and you could go to the deli and you could get, you know, a potato salad or a salad or you could buy a cake and you could put it on your grandmother's plate, but you can bet that those ladies know that you bought that. And that is definitely, you know, that's not a good thing to do because they're going to know. They'll be talking about you all over town. So you have to, of course, make your own, whatever it is. So what she does is she makes a 7-Up pound cake. And she makes a bunch of them up ahead of time. She puts them in the freezer so if something happens, then she can, you know, she can take it and go and get the food. And it's something that she made, so she gets points for that, right? Another thing she talks about is that, you know, whenever something like this happens, especially if someone passes, this is what everyone does right up front.
It's like, so sorry.
So if you're asking, you know, and help tell me about your parents. Well, my mother passed away a year ago. Oh, that's so sad. So everybody, they all do that, right? So anyway, one day she goes and somebody else in the family got sick. She looked in her freezer and there were no 7-Up pound cakes. So she asked her husband, Left Brain, she called him Left Brain, could you go and get to the store and get me the ingredients for my 7-Up pound cake? And he said, well, I really can't because I have to go to badminton. I don't really have time. She goes, oh, it will just be a few things, and what's the big deal? Just go get a few things, and then you can go to badminton. So he says, okay, as long as you make sure that I can go out the express lane. So she says, fine, no problem. So she writes her list, and she sends him off to the store. And in a few minutes, or not a few minutes, but a little time later, she realizes, you know, he's really taking a long time. Where is he? I bet he went ahead and went to badminton, and all of those ingredients are sitting in the car while he's in badminton. And just when she was about ready to call the grocery store, he comes in. He comes in and he has a couple of bags, and he's got an angry look on his face. And he brings those bags in and he sets them down, and he turns around and he goes back out to get the next batch. So she looks in the bags, and she opens the first one, and there you go. There's a pound of butter. Okay, so far so good. She looks in the next bag, and in that bag, there are 2 big bottles of vanilla flavoring. And now at half a teaspoon, you know, it's going to take her 2 lifetimes to finish those 2 bottles of vanilla, all right? She looks in the next bag, and in there are 3, I forget what it was, 3 5-pound bags of sugar. Okay? And she keeps looking, and she suddenly realizes in the 4th bag, she reaches in and she finds her list, and she realizes what happened. For the first time ever, she numbered the items on her list. Number 1, a pound of butter. Number 2, a big bottle of vanilla. Number 3, 5 pounds of sugar. And on it went. So he comes in and makes another trip. And she knows what's coming. Next is the flour. 4 bags of flour. And so forth. And finally he gets down to number 7, and she knew this was the thing that she'd asked him to do that's most important for a 7-Up pound cake, and that is 7-Up. And on her list, she had said 1 bottle of 7-Up. But she said, I don't want one of those big bottles, because if I use that big bottle, just a little bit of it, then when I get ready to use the rest of it, it's stale. So I want those like 6 packs of 7-Up with the smaller bottles. So she goes, I know what's going to happen now. So she clears off the table, and here comes 7 6-packs of 7-Up. She has 42 cans of 7-Up. Now, at this time, she steps out of the kitchen, and she says, let me tell you this. Left Brain is a very smart man. She says, he went to school and got his bachelor's degree in 4 years. He went on a basketball scholarship, and in 4 years, he got his degree. Can you believe that? Then he went on to Duke University. He got a master's degree, and he got a doctorate. He has over-degreed himself. He's a smart man. But she said the problem is that if you've got a left brain, sooner or later, your left brain is going to kick in. And when it does, you're going to do things like this. Let me step back into the kitchen now. So finally when he comes in, he looks at her and he says, I figured out what I had done when we got to the 7-Up, but by then it was too late. All the people behind me were laughing, and obviously I couldn't go through the express lane. So it's not that I don't know what I did, but by that time it was too late. And she says, don't worry, I'll never tell a soul. And she said the next week she went into the grocery store and she was going through the line. The person who was checking her out said, you know, I think your husband came through here last week. And she says, yes, I think he probably did. And she goes, that was a very interesting order. And so she said, well, I started to tell her the story. You know, if someone in town either gets sick or passes, and of course they both do this, if someone does that, then we make a 7-Up pound cake. And her answer to that was, is there an epidemic? That is her story.